So over the last few weeks, we've talked a lot about sort of principles underlying creating your digital education resources and planning them. We're now going to move on to look at specific tools for creating your digital education resources, their strengths and weaknesses, and some of the technicalities of how to actually do it. So I'm going to start with video this week. Obviously, I use video quite a lot in my teaching, as you've found already. And there's lots of different styles of video teaching that you can use. This kind of talking head format I like to use as an introduction to resources. And then when I'm actually producing resources, I tend to use more along the lines of digital sketching, which I've given you some resources on. But it will really depend on your subject matter as to what type of video you produce. Videos are not infallible, and they should not be the only learning resource we use. They are, by their nature, not interactive. They're pre-recorded. So the student's not going to have the opportunity to interact with the resource, basically. So whilst they're really useful, I would advise you to use them as part of a larger learning resource rather than simply the only thing that you provide your students. We have spoken previously about open education resources and about saying you don't have to make your own videos or any other resources for that matter. That's absolutely the case. I mean, YouTube alone has a wealth of everything that you could possibly need. But you may want to have various different video clips that you edit together. You may want to take an existing video, copyright appropriate obviously, and add your own sort of voiceovers and all that kind of stuff. So I've given you some resources on how to do that today, but I would encourage you to spend a bit of time looking into that as well. Have a think about video that you've used for your own learning. What makes a good video, what doesn't. I mean, thinking about it on a really basic level, if you're going to produce a 2-hour video, realistically, are your students going to watch all of that? I have certainly made that mistake in the past. Also, one of the things that people were maybe pushed into during COVID, or certainly at the start of the COVID pandemic, because they didn't feel like they had many other options, or because they weren't educated in any other options, was simply taking their however many slide PowerPoint and making it into a video with a tiny little box of them in the corner speaking. Whilst there's a place sometimes for videos like that, if you're just taking what you would do face to face and pre-recording it, it's never going to give you the best quality outcome, because you're using something that you designed for a different purpose in this digital online setting. So try and think about, if you have existing resources that you're using them face-to-face, can they be adapted to use in a digital format, or do you really need to start from scratch? So hopefully you'll find probably some enjoyment, I'd like to think, in some of this week's resources. Spend a bit of time playing with things. I've given you some suggestions for software, but there's so much. There's a lot of free stuff, so don't feel like you have to go and pay a lot of money for this high level editing when it's really not necessary, certainly not when you're first starting out.